It is 10:01. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. In case you missed it yesterday, the Tennessee Titans are reportedly signing free agent wide receiver Tyler Boyd. The 29-year-old played for Brian Callahan for 5 seasons in Cincinnati. Last year, he caught 67 passes for 667 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Titans made a transaction on Tuesday, waiving defensive lineman Shaquille Brown. The NFL schedule release is 1 week from today, May 15th, reportedly the release date. NHL playoffs, the Rangers took Game 2 over the Hurricanes in double OT, 4-3. They take a 2-0 series lead. In the West, the Avalanche came back from down 3-0 for a 4-3 overtime win over the Stars in Game 1. In the NBA, the Celtics lead the Eastern Conference semifinals after a Game 1 win over the Cavs, 120-95. And in the West, the Thunder took Game 1 over the Mavericks, 117-95. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
I'm trying to think of the worst possible ways to start off a person's morning because I avoided near disaster walking in here at 10 a.m. and I feel like I'm already living on borrowed time. We got Lucas, we got Jackson. We're happy to have you guys here with us until 1 o'clock. 615-737-1045 is the number. If we can survive. Lucas, did you just snort a line of something over there? What was that noise that you made?
I'm like over here sniffing. You don't do that? Just like I'm not going to do it into a microphone. No.
Do what you did.
Sniff.
Do what you did.
Oh, my God. It's allergy season. God forbid a little something like that before the show.
That was not a little something.
It was a little more aggressive than that, sure.
You sound defensive for a reason because you know it was disgusting and loud. It literally looked like you bent over the console and just snorted something. Relax.
It's slander.
Over there. It's not slander. I watched you do it. The noise, not, the other alleged activity. Good morning. How's everybody?
Oh, good morning.
Great start.
I listen, I feel like I'm already off to a great start. When you get a cup of coffee from your favorite coffee spot or a drive-thru or whatever, and you feel like the coffee cup in your hand is prone to incident, like the lid is a little loose at the top and you can feel it. The lid doesn't look like it's come off yet, but it's sitting there mocking you, waiting for you to take a sip and just dump all over your lap and the front of you if you're driving to work or whatever. I narrowly avoided this disaster not 2 minutes ago. So I already feel like we've accomplished great things today, not having dumped a full Dunkin' Donuts large coffee down the front of me 2 seconds before walking in here. So I feel great. I don't know about you two. How's morale?
Great. Jackson and I have been crunching numbers, so I decided to talk about it.
There was a debate being embraced when I walked into the studio.
It was heated.
Jackson said he's like a house cat. He's scared back there. What happened? Talk to me about your trauma.
Bert and Lucas and I have been talking about wide receiver trios in the NFL, and it was getting it was very heated.
Okay, good. Spicy.
Spirited.
We have sports talk radio to do today? Excellent.
Sure do.
Wide receiver trios. We'll debate where the Titans should rank with the addition of Tyler Boyd. Now that you've had the opportunity to sleep on it, do you feel better? Are you dreaming of 11 personnel sets at night? What has been the experience for Titans fans over the last 24 hours? Because I don't know. I feel like I immediately pivoted to wanting to stick Slay's nose in it before I actually talked about the signing and the impact. So that was a little petty by me. But Tyler Boyd is a huge addition here for a great many reasons. And it's as productive a trio as the Titans in 26 or coming up on 26 seasons of Titans football have ever had. And we're going to talk about where it stacks in the league, like Lucas and Jackson mentioned here in just a second. But before we get into that, did you see this thing from Boomer Esiason this morning?
Sure did. New media free agent, Boomer Esiason.
Yeah, so Matt Ryan retired and then pushed the old man out of the chair on the NFL on CBS. Nate Burleson and Matt Ryan are going to be, well, Nate Burleson's already been there. Either way, you don't want to get bogged down in the television logistics. Boomer Esiason still has a sports talk radio show in New York City. And occasionally, Boomer, who's been working at a network for a very, very long time, obviously has a lot of football connections, says things on air that, may or may not be vetted the way that, like, a reporter might or something like that. You remember the Aaron Rodgers thing he had a couple of years ago that he got mixed up in? Boomer's been loud about some things that he hasn't necessarily had all buttoned up. So when he says this morning and it gets aggregated about the NFL and Netflix looking to do a little Christmas Day action together, it piques a lot of people's interests and also, I think, makes the audience kind of reconsider all the different prices that you're paying for everything on a regular basis, because now you're trying to figure out where the hell can I get my football? What is the simplest path forward for me to get games? You remember you and I talking about this with HBO Max? I didn't realize that the playoffs for the NHL and the NBA were on Max, but you don't have it, even though you have HBO. But for some reason I do, because I have cable and also HBO. So it's just a whole different cluster every time you turn around, and it's a constantly changing environment where people are unbundling and bundling. And why do you care about all this? Well, where are you going to get your football? This is Boomer Esiason on WFAN this morning talking about the idea of Netflix and the NFL.
200.
Yeah, I mean.
And Netflix has about 200 million subscribers worldwide.
Right.
And this is why I believe that Netflix, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
What I think is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Could be wrong, but I don't think I am.
All right.
I'm going to give you one of these things. One of
these things?
You want to take it with a grain of salt? You can take it with a grain of salt.
Spot. Here we go.
Do not be surprised if the NFL
Oh, boy.
and Netflix
Oh, boy.
get in bed
Oh, man.
for a nice little Christmas Day football games.
Wow.
I would not be surprised.
Somebody get some WD-40 for that microphone, please.
That's the most sports radio sound ever. Some dude fidgeting with his microphone.
Can you hear that?
No, that's pretty seamless.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
We're a well-oiled machine around here.
Quite literally.
How about that?
Shout out to Mike Buckner and our whole engineering team.
Wow. Like that.
What happened?
Wow. That wow. Did you not hear the wow at the end? Wow.
Oh, I thought you were doing a bit.
I was trying. You didn't really pick up on it.
Because you got scared. You shut your microphone off. You ran away back there.
My finger slipped.
Did not catch the Owen Wilson wow at the end of that clip.
Anyway, Netflix and the NFL. What do we think? My initial reaction is, I don't care. I'm not going to see these games anyway, more than likely, because the Titans are probably playing a game. So I'll catch up on the reaction after the fact. And we don't know what exactly the Titans schedule, though we'll find out on May the 15th, because the NFL has made the announcement about the announcement. Lucas, you were very patiently waiting. You've gotten what you wished for. The NFL has made the announcement about announcing their schedule on May the 15th, so we can look forward to that altogether. Netflix and the NFL live stream sports rights. Are people tired of having to find games in places that they can't just turn on a remote or even hit the microphone button on your Xfinity, Comcast, whatever cable service provider that you have and say NFL, and it's just easily there for you? I don't know how many people. Jackson, do you have cable?
Yes.
Actually. So you
Xfinity.
Okay, you have Xfinity. Lucas, you don't.
YouTube TV.
Okay. I have cable, so that's an odd majority. I don't know. I feel like the majority of people still have cable. It's just an age, kind of a generational thing where more people are cord cutting. But don't you feel like you're still having to chase, and maybe you don't? What's been your experience in trying to get the sports that you want? Because you're kind of the case study for people who are already doing this, whereas Jackson and I are still doing it the conventional way, which is turn on the TV, go to the TV guide, and pick the channel that I want.
YouTube TV is basically the same as cable. There is hardly a channel you can name that you get on cable that I do not get on YouTube TV.
So you've never had any kind of frustration about the idea of there's some sporting event here that I can't watch because I have YouTube TV versus what everybody else has?
Now, I will say YouTube TV does not have the Preds games. you have to go to the Bally app, for which I use my longtime girlfriend's mother's login
And you
for
hate the
her
Bally app.
Spectrum. What?
And you hate the Bally app.
Oh, the Bally app is terrible.
Okay.
Love Bally people. Love the Bally people.
They don't make the app.
They don't make the app.
That's fair. So with Netflix pretty mainstream at this point. It's not like you're, completely confounded by the idea of having to turn on Netflix on your TV in the year 2024, but just more NFL products going exclusively to streamers. They're going to have they did this past playoffs, have an exclusively streamed playoff game on Peacock. They're going to do this with Netflix. They're going to do this with Apple. They're going to do this with a lot of the different streamers, and I just don't know how many people who are looking to kind of the streaming age as a way to escape cable, only to have to pay more companies for less things and spread it across, basically balance your budget every time you pay your quote-unquote cable bill. Or maybe you're just going to go find your football.
Titans have announced jersey numbers for the draft picks. Would you like to hear them, Buck?
Yeah.
J.C. Latham going to be rocking 55. DeAndre Sweat 93. Cedric Gray 51. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. 29. 19. Jaquan Jackson will be rocking 19. 52. James Williams and Jalen Harrell will be rocking 92.
They added Marlon Davidson, will wear number 90, like he has been.
Okay. You excited about that?
I just thought it'd be fun to run you over a little bit.
Do you have a favorite?
92 always looks good.
Is that true? Because maybe I'm so opposed to the idea of Traylon Burks because 16 is hideous. I hate the jersey number 16 on a wide receiver.
Why?
It looks wrong to me in that font. I think it's a Titans font thing more than it is the 16 thing, because the 16 is it's aesthetically not pleasing.
I like 51 for Cedric Gray. Just a good Mike linebacker number.
Oh, I'm sorry. Weren't you the person making fun of me because I hated the idea that they're going to wear their college numbers and stuff like that, like single-digit linebackers and things?
I'm
you just
fine.
want a 51? You just want a plain 51?
I like a good old-fashioned Mike linebacker number, which is 51.
Me too, and now I got to figure out if number 2 is Julio Jones or Azeez Al-Share.
Right. Unlike you, I have no problem with off-ball linebackers wearing single digits.
51. 55 for J.C. Latham. See, Sam Phelan texted me about that. I said that on the live show on Friday, and I couldn't remember where I saw him saying that because he wore in college 65. Who's 65 for the Titans right now? I can't think of one.
Is that Rupchich?
No, Rupchich is a 70. Either way, embrace debate. We'll figure it out later on if it's important to you. Where the Titans roster stands in the division after the signing of Tyler Boyd. It makes a pretty big difference, especially in the pecking order between these 4 teams. We'll talk about it coming up next. All right, can we talk about this? There's a new setup for us to communicate with one another, and I'm scared it's going to get me fired. Can you explain to me what this new situation is and why the hell every time I need to talk to you, I have to hold down a button which is close to my microphone button, which the YouTube chat is trying to figure out what the hell I just said to you? I'm disoriented. This is going to be the end of me.
It's all part of the plan.
Did you two do this?
Maybe.
You may never know till it's too late.
You can't even talk correctly over or with one another. I'm expecting you two to work together to wire an entire system in here just to undermine me?
That's right.
Perceived incompetence will be your downfall.
No, I'm quite sure I have a representative sample size that it's more than just perceived. But that's fine. That's neither here nor there. We'll see if it's not my ultimate downfall at some point.
We got some clarification on why JC cannot wear 65 with the Titans.
Yeah, we're dumb. Alvin Bethea, Oilers legend. He's in the Ring of Honor. That's why he can't wear 65. So 55 is going to be the number for the new Titans left tackle. Somebody says in the FNM Bank chat on YouTube, Hattie B's can't be proud of this new setup. Now, I've already texted with Nick Bishop about getting the logo tattooed on a butt cheek if we finish in first place over Matt Jones in the Barrett Sports Media ranking. So unfortunately, they've signed up for all of this nonsense, and we're going to try to do the best job that we can to, not run it into the ground.
I still think it was a chest tat that you agreed to.
No. It's a cheek tat, not a chest tat. I'm not A.J. McCarron. A.J. McCarron, Hall of Fame bad chest tat, yeah? Like all-time memorable bad chest tat.
Yeah, it's up there.
Who else comes to mind?
Worst chest tats of all time?
Don't Google that. Not on a work computer. Either way, we'll get to that later on. Where the Titans roster stands in the AFC South now. I got a question yesterday because I do those Q&As on the A to Z Sports Instagram, and somebody made me pick first place or fourth place. Where do you think the Titans finish? No in between. Wouldn't give me a middle ground. And I had to think about it for a second because I don't think that they're built like a fourth place team right now. But as long as the Houston Texans are still in their division, looking the way that they do and having really equipped themselves well in the offseason, I can't say that they look more like a first place team than a fourth place team if you're making me pick extremes. Obviously, there's some nuance there. The Titans could finish second in the AFC South, make a wild card, make a run with this collection of players. This is a playoff caliber roster post-draft. I think that should be the expectation. We've talked about this multiple times. There could be a couple of pitfalls. We could see some, issues with how the coaching staff manages things that we can't foresee right now. But for the most part, you look at the Titans and you say, at least locally, it seems, look at the Titans and say that should be a playoff caliber roster.
It's a very hard question to answer.
I know. He really stuck me with no in between answers, first or fourth.
And because to me, that question is, what would be, if those were the only two scenarios, which would be more likely? That everything clicks and Will Levis takes the leap and the Texans drop some games and choke away the division the way the Jags did last year, the way the Titans did 2 years ago, and the Titans finished first? Or something goes wrong along the way, injuries, certain newcomer doesn't play well, Will Levis doesn't have a good season, and the Colts and Jags kind of punch above their weight a little bit, and the Titans finish fourth. I don't know which of those is more likely because there's so many unknowns with both.
Yeah. By percentage chance, I would think you would say fourth over first because, again, the likelihood of to your point, all of it going right, everything, all the best laid plans coming together. Will Levis takes a meaningful step and looks to be the thing that can help propel you into the future, not just be carried by the roster that you put together around him, and that they all stay healthy, which is the big thing, right? That everybody's going to be healthy at the end of the year, which is how basically these football games are won. Who survived the longest down the stretch of the regular season and through the postseason? Who has the most parts and pieces in place? Have you saved yourself well enough? Did you Travis Kelce it right? When you get to a certain age as a veteran and you're not looking the way that you have your entire career in weeks 14, 15, and 16, but then all of a sudden in the divisional round, you're carrying carrying the team, carrying the passing game, and getting hit in the thighs and all kinds of stuff, getting hit low and getting knocked around and knocking people around the way that we're accustomed to seeing you at the peak of your career. How do you manage it? Because that's the biggest unknown. That's the most unpredictable factor, and that's probably the thing that matters most for any of these four teams.
Maybe the better question is, which AFC South team has a roster that is closest to the Houston Texans? And do the Titans have an argument there?
I think it's the Titans. I really do. And that's with Levis being almost as big an unknown as Anthony Richardson. Richardson is, the wild card here, right? Because, again, to the point of health, I have no idea whether Anthony Richardson is going to be able to survive a 17-game regular season at any point in his career, given his play style right now. And I have no idea what his play style is going to be because he played 5 games.
Now, we could say that about Will Levis.
Agreed.
Right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Will Levis laid his body on the line a few times. Will Levis got banged up last season.
No, don't throw your shoulder at the 300-pound defensive lineman that just picked you off, bud. Like, just don't. I know it's embarrassing. I know you're playing for pride. I know you're a competitor. Don't.
But but it was before that, too. It was training camp, right? The issue he picked up in Minnesota. We barely got to see him in preseason.
Yeah.
Wasn't it one preseason game that we actually got to see Levis
Chicago.
play? Was all Malik from there on out. And then
a thigh injury in Minnesota, I think.
I think that's right. And then the offensive line obviously had a lot to do with late season injuries. But Levis lays his body on the line, maybe not as much as Anthony Richardson just because of his play style. But
No, I mean, he's getting helicoptered out there by the Colts. He's diving for first down, sitting up because he's full of adrenaline and, hitting the first down sign or whatever. And it's great. It's galvanizing until you realize, oh, my God, that's his throwing shoulder. Stop it. Stop it.
do the Titans have, understanding the quarterback is a question mark, do the Titans, compared to Jacksonville and Indianapolis, have better starter-level talent
Yes.
at key spots, at corner,
Yes.
at edge,
Yes.
at receiver,
Edge.
at running back?
Edge is scary.
Sure. Who's got the best edge rushing group in the AFC South outside of Houston? Because that's the obvious answer.
It's probably Indy. Buckner's not an outside guy, but I love Latu.
Yeah, Latu, the first-round pick.
Kwity Paye. Oh, is Odangbo still there? They've got a couple of defensive linemen over the course of the last couple of years because they've always had a solid defense. They've never been like the best defense in the NFL. But
Yeah, Odangbo's there.
so they've got good depth. I like Indy's defensive line. Jacksonville, the Trayvon Walker thing, I'm just kind of looking around waiting for it to happen because in theory they should, right?
Sign Josh Allen to a big money deal.
Huge deal.
Yeah, but they couldn't get to the quarterback consistently enough last season.
That's what I'm saying. Like they don't. And we're looking at depth charts just out of curiosity for the NFL and just generally in the AFC South to see where the rosters stack up with one another after the Tyler Boyd signing, because I do think the Tyler Boyd signing is hugely consequential. You have Trayvon Walker there. You have Roy Robertson Harris, who's been there for a while. Eric Armstead was signed, and then Josh Allen is what kind of the front five looks like right now. They've got. I mean, what's Devin Lloyd's deal?
Oh, the former Utah linebacker.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What's his deal?
I don't recall. I feel like he was pulled out of the lineup or maybe inserted in the lineup. I don't remember exactly how that went for Jacksonville in the past couple of seasons, but I remember there being some kind of situation around Devin Lloyd, but it doesn't exactly.
Played in 15 games, 75 tackles.
How many did he start?
I don't have that on here. I'll try to pull up
Anyway.
this Pro Football Reference.
We don't have to get bogged down. Point being, Indianapolis and Jacksonville, I think, are probably the next two closest, because what do we know about the Titans? They've got Harold. They've got Jeff. Arden Key's probably a situational guy. And does Sebastian Joseph Day put you over the edge? Tavondre Sweat is nice in theory. I have no idea what that experience is going to be like. I'm looking forward to seeing if he can make weight this week.
I will say I feel really good about the upside of the defensive line.
Sure.
With Tavondre Sweat next to Jeff, Sebastian Joseph Day, and Keandre Coburn. I'm interested to see what happens this season with Keandre Coburn. Marlon Davidson, who flashed last season, back in the fold. And Tracy Rocker, who is a good defensive line coach.
And that's, how they, I'd be curious to see, because is this Jeff's first time working with a different defensive line coach? Has he had Terrell Williams the entire time?
I think you're right. I think that's correct.
Say that's correct, but either way. So we'll see. if they're not able to do more with Jeff. Jeff is already a physically overwhelming player, and he's a very good interior pass rusher, but I don't know, maybe Tracy Rocker. Not that Terrell Williams was any kind of inferior option to Tracy Rocker. Terrell Williams, very highly regarded.
Yeah, Detroit scooped him up pretty quick.
Oh, yeah. No, he got a job almost immediately. And he was an assistant or, is it associate head coach? What was his title?
Here?
At the end. Yeah.
Yeah, associate head coach. And he's the run game coordinator in Detroit.
Defensive run game coordinator. So either way, we will see what happens with this particular group. But just roster top to bottom, I think that the Titans are as close to anybody as Houston right now. We're going to look at the wide receivers in particular, but let's just take it in the division. Tank Dell, TBD, right? He's coming off a situation where he was glanced by a bullet, not completely. I mean, I guess if you get glanced, you still got shot, right? It's just not as bad as it could have been. You have Nico Collins, who's a legitimate number one wide receiver, and you have Stephon Diggs for the Houston Texans. Is that better, clearly and obviously, when right, than any of the other three? Just within the division before we take this out league-wide.
Stephon Diggs,
Nico Collins.
Tank Dell, Nico Collins.
Better than Hopkins, Ridley, and Boyd.
Yes.
Agreed. And I don't think you have to think too hard on it. You know what I'm saying?
And you have to have nuance, right? The quarterback matters, and we know what they have with the quarterback. We know what they have with the tight end and Dalton Schultz, and age on the side of that wide receiver room as well.
Yeah, so that is the best wide receiver room in the division. Then I think you look at probably Tennessee with Hop, even at an advanced age for a wide receiver, Ridley, who may or may not be in his prime, but it's pretty close. Right, we'll see how much better he can get from last year, if he gets better at all. And then you have Boyd, who's a proven commodity, but is also going to be on the wrong side of 30 by season's end, and that's a one-year solution. You do have some depth there, but we're just talking the top three right now at the wide receiver position. Would you take them over what they've just put together in Indianapolis, which is Michael Pittman, back on an extension? You've got Alec Pierce and A.D. Mitchell. So
the rookie out of Texas.
Right. And A.D. Mitchell is, I don't want to call him a wild card because the talent is obvious. Whatever character situation or the management of his diabetes and how that impacts his day-to-day, demeanor, that was out there being floated pre-draft and Chris Ballard went on a rant about. I don't know how real that is. We'll see what happens within Indy, but that has a lot of upside, not a lot of proven commodities to date. And Michael Pittman, I don't know, Michael Pittman's fine. He's not the best. He's not a bad receiver by any stretch of the imagination.
That wide receiver core is not better than the Titans.
And then Jacksonville, who just drafted Brian Thomas Jr. in the first round.
Oh, Josh Downs is a factor in Indy as well.
Ooh, who would we pull?
Cody in the F&M Bank chat says Josh Downs instead of Alec Pierce.
I agree, because Alec Pierce, basically A.D. Mitchell is Alec Pierce, but better. In a perfect world. Well, a perfect world for Indy. So I like Indy's upside, but again, not quite, on solid ground just yet. Doesn't mean they can't be by the end of the year. But Jacksonville we're putting pretty clearly in fourth, with letting Calvin Ridley go, with bringing in their biggest acquisition as a skill player, Gabe Davis, drafting Brian Thomas Jr., who I think we all liked, right? Everybody thought that was probably pretty clearly wide receiver 4 in the draft. I know there's probably some debate based on team need, but talent-wise, really good player. Tennessee has reshaped its wide receiver core almost as much as it has its cornerback room in 2 months, 3 months' time.
About as much as it has, right? With the exception, there is a new draft pick.
You still think that the corner group is better, just where they are in their careers, right?
But just in terms of the move they made, one sort of centerpiece carries over. With the cornerback room, it's McCreary. With the receiver room, it's Hopkins. One big money acquisition. With the corners, it's Snead. With the receivers, it's Ridley. And then you add Awuzie for kind of mid-level money. You add Tyler Boyd for not even mid-level, like we said, one of Rand's bargains, up to $4.5 million on a one-year deal. How surprised are you by that?
I'm really shocked. It's not one of these things where it's sticker shock. It's like, oh my God, they got him for that? So And he had injuries last year. He wasn't as productive last year. Like, he did miss some time.
DJ Chark got more with Carolina.
That's what I'm saying.
$5 million guaranteed in Carolina for Chark.
Not in Carolina. You mean in L.A.?
DJ Chark signed with L.A. You're right.
Yes, with the Chargers. Now, you're accounting for some different financial situations in Los Angeles and California than you would do in Tennessee. You have to take that into account. You said how much was the DJ Chark deal?
1 year, 5.
So it's about the same, right? They got about the same amount of money once you take off the money that DJ Chark is going to be taxed living in the state of California and the money that Tyler Boyd will not have to pay because of Tennessee state income taxes or lack thereof. So that does kind of even out. But I still think that 1 year up to 4.5 is pretty surprising, even understanding that he's coming off one of his least productive seasons in Cincinnati and did miss some time. Because there's some comments in the YouTube chat, and you can interact there on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Duck Falling, which got a picture of my face. Tough scene. Why are y'all afraid of the receivers' ages? Receivers can produce well into their 30s. Famously, Titans fans have had a complex about wide receivers in their 30s, and all of a sudden DeAndre Hopkins plays for you for 1 year, and you've forgotten all about the horror show that is your previous 30-plus wide receiver experience. Receivers can. He's not incorrect about that. There are players who can produce into their 30s. Larry Fitzgerald, DeAndre Hopkins, I think, is going to be one of these guys who continues to have, I think Hop can play as long as he wants to, provided that, nothing catastrophic happens to him health-wise. But those are the exceptions, not the rule. Most wide receivers, because of the, how much, the only position that relies more on athleticism than wide receiver is what, corner?
I would say corner.
Corner at the top for sure, but wide receiver, pretty close second there. Once that starts to go, and it does start to go in your 30s, whether you like it or not, there's an appreciable drop-off in talent. Now, players can adjust their game. Players can make the necessary adjustments to prolong their careers.
And certain players can age better at a position than others.
Agreed.
Like a DeAndre Hopkins,
For
right?
sure.
Like whenever Hollywood Brown is 31, he's probably not going to be able to do the same things that he's doing now and just outrunning secondaries, right? With that straight line speed. Whereas for Hopkins, that was never his primary sort of go-to. And he's been able to age well with it, like a Larry Fitzgerald.
Or like these slot guys. I know they're not getting crushed over the middle like they used to back in the days of like Ray Lewis and Ed Reed roaming over the middle and just waiting to decapitate somebody. But still, just think about how Adam Humphries had a pretty short career given, how good he was. He was a good enough player. I don't know that he's officially retired just yet, but still, exception, not the rule. So we'll talk about where the Titans trio stacks league-wide later on, but we've got the SEC observations coming up next. What are they involving? Because we do have a big baseball series going on this weekend.
We do have a big baseball series going on this weekend. We'll hit on that and hit on one interesting tidbit from an SEC football head coach about the transfer portal this week.
Fun. QC Kinetics is here to keep you moving during this most important time of year, because there's no worse time of year to deal with nagging joint pain than right now when you can do all the fun outdoor stuff. Don't go through the summer missing out on life. Call QC Kinetics now and find out how they can use biologics from your own body to give new life to your achy joints. QC's regenerative medicine protocols can restore and repair that damaged tissue with no surgery, no steroids, no drugs, no downtime. It's the future of medicine. Tens of thousands of QC Kinetics patients around the country are living their best life this year because they made the call. QC medical professionals are under the direction of Dr. Mitchell Shinecup, who was an orthopedic surgeon who became a true pioneer in regenerative medicine. He knew there had to be a better way. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. Revolutionary treatments for joint pain are here. All you have to do is call them 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken. We got some SEC observations to get to you. We've got a big baseball series going on here locally over the weekend. We tried to get Tony V. He's understandably busy. We've never had Tim Corbin on the show. I think that at some point that would be good to have because Vanderbilt, while they're not having one of their best seasons, they're still hugely competitive, and it's always fun when we have this particular baseball series. But I know it's not just baseball today. Give me the music.
Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about the SEC. Let's talk about Nick Saban and Josh Heupel in the SEC. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about the SEC. Let's talk about Brian Kelly and Greg Sankey in the SEC. Let's talk about sex.
Big series happening in Nashville this weekend. Two teams that have been on pretty different trajectories. And last season, the Tennessee-Vanderbilt series completely flipped the season for Tennessee because they were on the opposite trajectories going into that series, right? Vanderbilt was playing well. Vols were really struggling in SEC play. Tennessee sweeps Vandy on that series and went on a run, got to Omaha, obviously could not go the distance. I'm not going to sit here and say this is a down year, that Vanderbilt's going to be out of things in the postseason because that would be foolish.
Oh, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying it's a down year by their standards, but they're still competitive.
Right. I'm not going to write off Vanderbilt when it comes to the postseason. So SEC loaded as always, Kentucky, Georgia at the top of the league, but Tennessee is the number one team in the country. So it'll be interesting if Vanderbilt can kind of use that to their benefit and flip their season. They're coming off a sweep at the hands of Georgia. Got swept by Georgia over the weekend. Tennessee took 2 out of 3 against Florida. That's 4 straight years now that Tennessee wins a series in Gainesville. But big opportunity for Vanderbilt at home this weekend to kind of find a spark in the midst of their season as we're approaching the end of the regular season. The SEC championship is 2 weeks from Sunday. So not long left in the regular season. That'll be a fun series this weekend at Hopkins Field.
Do you feel like we've talked as little college baseball at this time of year as we ever have on the show?
Yes. Yes, and it's crazy because Tennessee, the number one team in the country right now, the Vols are just blasting it out of the park at the moment. Christian Moore is a bona fide star in college baseball. But I don't know. It's been a busy offseason. Crazy coaching carousel in the NFL. Obviously, all the changes with the Titans.
Yeah, a little bit of hockey.
Yeah, Preds back in the postseason.
Smattering of hockey.
But to flip back over to football really quickly, Brian Kelly sat down with longtime LSU TV reporter Jacques Doucet. I hope I'm saying his name right.
There's no way.
The most Baton Rouge name ever. And
I just don't think you got that last name right.
Was asked about the defensive line because LSU's got some holes there, right? A couple of guys that went to the draft, Mekhi Wingo. They've got some holes to fill on the interior of their defensive line. They've swung and missed on a few portal players. And here's Brian Kelly talking about addressing those issues on the defensive line or not being able to address those issues.
So the D-line, interior D lineman, where are you right now with that?
Well, I think I made it pretty clear in a number of the press conferences that I had that we were in the market in recruiting in the transfer portal looking for defensive linemen. It hasn't fared very well, quite frankly, because, you know, we're selling something a little bit differently, and that is we want to recruit. We want to engage, build relationships. We want to develop, retain, and have success. We're not in the market of buying players, and unfortunately, right now, you know, that's what some guys are looking for. They want to be bought. And look, I understand NIL is part of this, and we have an incredible collective. We have very, very generous opportunities around the greater Baton Rouge area for NIL opportunities. So they are here, but we're not going to go out and buy players. That's not what this is about. This was never about that. We will develop you. We will get you ready for the next step, as we did with Jaden Daniels, as we did with Malik Neighbors, as we did with Brian Thomas. We developed 3 defensive linemen that all got drafted this year, and we'll do that again. But if you're just looking to get paid, you're looking in the wrong place. if you like all the things that we do here in developing our players, bringing you into a championship program, playing in front of the best fan base in America, playing for championships, and having an opportunity for NIL, you should be a Tiger. But if you just want to get, paid, this is not the place for you.
You know what he sounds like? Sounds like Saban. And it's not like quite the dinosaur at the end before the asteroid hits and everything goes to hell. But it's a little more Dabo than it is, I don't know, let's just say Mark Stoops, who's saying, you want better players? All right, give me more money. We'll go get more players. There's probably a middle ground on how to handle these things. And I'm not going to blow up Brian Kelly's spot for just being honest about how he feels about it, because I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with what he's saying. These guys do need development, just as they need development when they get to the pro level. They're not finished products when they go to the NFL. This is, especially in college when your body is still growing and changing and stuff like that, like these things matter with how you handle yourself as a collegiate football player in particular. But I think he's just going to get dragged, be like, no, pay me, old man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I see why from his perspective, because a lot of the first things you'll hear from people would be, okay, ex-recruit hears that and immediately puts LSU out of his mind, right? And then Brian Kelly's retort.
It's going to happen a lot.
Sure. Brian Kelly's retort would probably be, okay, then that's not the type of player I want here anyway, which is exactly how Nick Saban approached it. I don't hate that from Brian Kelly, because Brian Kelly understands that to build a championship roster, you have to build it through recruiting. I heard that.
No, you didn't.
I don't know if the audience heard it, but I heard it.
Doesn't matter.
You have to build it through recruiting and then supplement.
Jackson doesn't know what you're talking about. I win.
Okay, fair enough. The game's the game. LSU is looking to supplement along the defensive line. To do that, you got to shell out some money. So I could understand LSU fans being slightly frustrated by this, but I'm not upset with the overall principle from Brian Kelly.
No.
Because, like, when I throw to you, okay, what team comes to mind when I just say transfer portal? Like, building a team in the portal.
Well, Colorado. And then Ole Miss.
And Ole Miss, right?
Oh, by the way, do you see Lane's taking shots at Tennessee?
No, what did Lane say?
Well, we can get to that a little later, but basically, like, just having some fun on the internet about the idea of the Vols trying to steal a recruit from him.
Okay. He has a lot of fun on Twitter.
We like to have fun here.
It's fun. We like to have fun here. Do you consider Colorado or Ole Miss national championship contenders?
Well, my gut reaction is no on Ole Miss, but I should probably give them more respect than I am, just on face value, right? Colorado, no. And Pate is going to be in studio next Monday, right? Obviously not this Monday, it's Wednesday, but next Monday, Josh Pate is going to come in and talk about this, the idea.
TBD, because I might have booked Pate and then forgot that y'all are going to be in Mount Juliet on Monday. So we'll figure that out. But look at the last four. Let's see. NIL has been instituted since 2021.
Yeah.
So since then, the teams that have been in the college football playoff, and I know it's expanding to 12, and Ole Miss very much should expect to be in the 12-team playoff. What kind of run they can make, we'll see from there. But Ole Miss is very much a team that has built out their roster via the portal. Since 2021, teams that have made the college football playoff include Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, Cincinnati, TCU, Ohio State, Texas, and Washington. None of those teams have taken the approach of Ole Miss, Colorado, we're going to buy players and make our roster that way. Like if an NFL team just said bleep the draft like the Rams and said we're just going to build a team out with free agents via trades and all of these things. That has not been proven to be a recipe for success at the college level. So I do not hate that principle from Brian Kelly.
It's not, no, you're right. It's not proven, because my point about Pate is he calls the Colorado thing an experiment, not a program. And I like that, because it is an experiment.
That's exactly what it is.
And Lane's running his own kind of experiment with this. So just because nobody's done it yet doesn't mean that it's not possible. We just haven't seen it, and we're still in the early phases of this. But we'll have more time to flesh this out throughout the course of the show. 615-737-1045 is the number. Willie Fritz, the Houston head coach, is going to be on with us In the second hour, formerly of Tulane, he coached Tajay Spears and new Titans wide receiver Jaquan Jackson. So looking forward to getting Coach Fritz's insights. Coming up next, though, it's the dumbest thing in sports. Do we have something to give away? Do we have anything?
We sure do. Concert week tickets.
Concert.
You get to choose your concert.
Love that. Choose your own adventure. 615-737-1045 is the number. All you have to do is give us the dumbest thing in sports. Coming up next.
It is 11:02. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. In case you missed it, Tuesday, the Titans are reportedly signing free agent wide receiver Tyler Boyd. The 29-year-old played for Brian Callahan for 5 seasons in Cincinnati. Last season, caught 67 passes for 667 yards and 2 touchdowns. Titans made a transaction on Tuesday, waiving defensive lineman Shaquille Brown. Also, numbers have been assigned for the Titans 2024 draft class. Left tackle J.C. Latham will wear 55. Defensive tackle T'Vondre Sweat wearing 93. Linebacker Cedric Gray wears 51. Corner Jarvis Brownlee wearing 29. Wide receiver Jaquan Jackson wears 19. James Williams is 52. And edge rusher Jalen Harrell will be number 92. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
What's happening? Second hour is upon us on a Wednesday. That means the dumbest thing in sports this week. 615-737-1045 is the number you need. That number to give us the dumbest thing in sports this week and win potentially tickets to how many different concerts that they can pick from in the ticket window from Window Nation.
Too many to count, Buck. Too many to count.
Maybe give me some examples so people know what they're potentially competing for instead of just dropping dead fish in my lap.
Oh, we're talking Limp Bizkit. We're talking Pitbull. We're talking Pink. We're talking Third Eye Blind. We're talking Doobie Brothers.
Are we talking?
We're talking 311. I got some flack yesterday for saying 311.
I think that's fair.
It's
I wouldn't know.
fair.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. What?
No, I really Ron Burgundied that one. But so many concerts. But see for yourself. The best submission for the dumbest thing in sports this week will get their pick of the litter.
Let's be honest. You've already seen something this week that made you say,
"What the is this?"
That's bullshit.
What the hell? Give me some more now.
something so mind-numbingly idiotic that you just want to get it off your chest.
Dumber than a second coat of paint.
Some idiot.
You are really dumb. For real. It's the dumbest thing in sports this week on the Buck Rising Show.
615-737-1045 to choose from any of those great entertainment options and many, many more, courtesy of Window Nation. Their ticket window is how we get it done. The dumbest thing in sports this week, Lucas, is once again Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice. Did you see this? He is a suspect in an alleged assault that injured a man at a Dallas nightclub earlier in the week. This was confirmed to the Dallas Morning News on Tuesday by police. The newspaper, and this is courtesy of the Dallas Morning News, says citing law enforcement officials reported that officers were dispatched early Monday morning to the nightclub after reports of an assault. A man was taken to a hospital with non-life-threatening injuries, including swelling on one side of his face, the officials told the Morning News. Police said there are no charges related to the alleged assault, and it had been filed as of Tuesday afternoon. According to the Dallas Morning News, the Chiefs said they had no comment. Rice's attorney declined comment to the newspaper. Stay home. Stay home, Rashee Rice. Stay home. You can have people over at your house. You, even on a rookie contract, you make enough money to hire a bartender to come bartend the party at your house. You do whatever you want in the confines of your home where you're not going to additionally expose yourself to risk. I know it's difficult to be a young person. We've all done stupid things in our mid-20s that we probably shouldn't have, probably been out later than we should have. I don't know what you're doing at a club on a Sunday night, but whatever. You do you. I don't know what your schedule's like. Live your life. Just do it at home. do it at home. There's a reason that the best professional athletes who have the longest careers, they insulate themselves from issues like this. And it's not just the street racing thing, because even still, getting in a fight in a nightclub is so stupid. You're the defending Super Bowl champion. You have so many other things to worry about in your life. And camp is right, voluntary stuff is right around the corner. All this stuff is about to start again. And you're going to have all the headlines, and you're going to make everything about not you winning the Super Bowl again, but all the dumb bleep you did in the offseason. Rishi Rice, dumbest thing in sports this week.
And by the way, you're going to have to earn your spot again, because what did the Chiefs do this offseason?
They drafted you.
Yeah, they beefed up their wide receiver core pretty good. They added Hollywood Brown. They drafted Xavier Worthy. Travis Kelce's back on a new contract. So I don't know if the 900 yards are going to come as easily in 2024 as they did his rookie season. And to his credit, Rice really emerged the back half of that season. But man, rough offseason for the former SMU wide receiver.
Yeah, if you don't remember, he's 24. He was arrested in April, not that long ago, for his involvement in a 6-car crash, which if you've seen the video is horrifying, and lucky that nobody died. He was driving 119 miles an hour before the crash on a Dallas freeway. Stay home, Rishi Rice. Stay home.
Can I really quickly one-up your star NFL wide receiver getting into a fight at a nightclub?
You sure can.
And give you, because Taylor has just submitted this in the F&M Bank chat, and this was news last week in the world of Major League Soccer, that FC Cincinnati striker Aaron Bupenza is out for many weeks with a broken jaw because of an incident outside of a bar in Cincinnati last week where he got punched in the face by professional boxer Quayshawn Toller.
Oh, no.
And has a broken jaw over it and is going to miss many games for FC Cincinnati.
Oh, my God. He's lucky that all that's broken is his jaw.
Yeah. Like the report came out that he got in a fight outside of a bar and that he's out with a broken jaw. And it was like, wow, that's news. And then you find out that it is a professional boxer that actually punched him in the face to break his jaw in the early hours of Monday morning last week.
Another Monday. What are all the athletes doing at the club on Sunday?
Why are we going out on Sunday nights, guys? Come on.
I mean, maybe they're less populated. Maybe this is, what athletes do. Like, I don't know. Their schedules are different than ours, but still. I mean, what are we all doing out in the late hours of Sunday night, early Monday morning at a bar? What kind of sad bar are you outside of on a Monday morning in Cincinnati, Ohio?
I mean, for Rice, like, whatever, it's his offseason. He's making dumb decisions, but it's the offseason. For Bupenza, like, he is in the throes of the season.
Yeah,
like,
that's tough.
You got a game coming up on Saturday. You probably got training on Monday or Tuesday.
Are they any good?
FC Cincinnati, yes. They are a good team. They've had some of their struggles this year, but they are a good team that is a threat. My dumbest thing in sports this week is Austin Rivers talking about taking 30 players that he says, I can take 30 players right now in the NBA, throw them in the NFL. You can't take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA. Just a dumb conversation, right? It's
peak sports talk, though.
Yeah,
you see
it is.
I saw Keith Bullock jump in on it on Twitter. I saw Slay going back and forth. I saw Compton putting out videos going back and forth. Everybody's in on it. And yes, it is just the dumbest version of sports talk.
It's like, could UConn beat the Pistons, right? Like, it's that.
I'm still
level
so mad
of
at damn Mike Greenberg for putting that out into the world. Could the UConn Huskies beat a professional basketball team?
I think he was being facetious.
I don't think he was at all. Nonsense. Jackson, what's the dumbest thing in sports this week?
It's rare we get to make fun of Zach Edey and actually have a reason to.
I'll take any reason that you have.
He threw out the first pitch at the Cubs game, and he hit the little advertisements that are all the way over to the left side of the pitcher's mound.
Oh, no.
Just a 50-cent level bad first
No,
pitch.
it wasn't 50-cent level,
Yes,
but
it
it was
was.
bad. It was bad.
No, 50 Cent all-time bad.
That's all-time bad.
All-time worst first pitches, yeah?
Yeah, but the mascot's giving him side-eye. The Cubs mascot is giving Zach Edey side-eye. It's a great video if you haven't seen it.
I bet it's a packed crowd at a Cubs game. Like, that's not a small amount. That's not a Marlins game in early May that you're walking into with maybe 2,000 of your closest friends. Tough.
50 Cent has the worst first pitch of all time.
Do you have the Zach Edey one in front of you? I mean, are you watching the 50 Cent one?
I'm watching 50.
It's nightmarish.
It's a good 20 feet to the left of the plate. Edey's was about 10.
Still, that's pretty bad. When are we having you throw out a first pitch at a Sounds game?
You. I want it to be you.
Me?
Yes.
I feel like that's all right. I mean, it's not. I just don't feel like it's as big a deal as people make it.
What?
Throwing out the first pitch.
Any one of us would embarrass ourselves.
Oh, sure. I mean, but to the extent of 50 Cent or Zach Edey, like I would like to think that it's not going to be as shotgun quite, just in the general direction of the catcher. Anyway. 615-737-1045 is the number. Give us the dumbest thing in sports this week. You can pick from all manner of concert tickets from the Window Nation ticket window. Pitbull, Pink. What else did you say? I heard Blink-182.
Blink-182, Lake Street Dive, who is a great band. 30 Seconds to Mars. Like, every genre. If you just name.
What is the occasion that we have just all of these?
It's Concert Week. Well, Concert Week is back. This happens every year. The Zone is partnering again with Live Nation to promote it. And if you don't win, you can take up the $25 pick a ticket offer for select shows at Bridgestone, FedEx Forum, Ascend Amphitheater, and First Bank Amphitheater. Over 5,000 shows, comedy and music.
Fun.
That's up to 75% off if you go to Live Nation's Concert Week and check out their website for it. But this is your chance to get one for free.
615-737-1045 is how you get the chance. Let's start with Mitchell, who works in IT.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Yeah, so my dumbest thing in sports this week, with all the hype around women's basketball, the fact that they did not air Angel Reese's game on the WNBA League Pass, and they allowed a fan to live stream it for the coverage.
No.
Ridiculous.
That's a real thing?
Yeah, a fan had to live stream the game for Angel Reese instead of it being aired on WNBA League Pass.
That's wild. Thank you for the call, Mitchell. Reminder to stay on hold so Jackson can get back into contact with you if you win the tickets. Are you finding anything to this effect?
Hey, I'm trying to fish the Chicago Sky, correct?
Yeah.
Trying to find more on this. Yeah, I hadn't seen anything about this.
Well, it should be one of the first headlines that comes up if you look up Angel Reese. Did you see, by the way, that Greg Doyle is suspended from covering any Indiana Fever games this year?
I did.
The Indianapolis Star columnist who had the very cringy interaction with Caitlin Clark at her introductory press conference with the Fever, making the heart-shaped emoji at her. He is suspended from covering any Fever games live at all this season. He's got a 2-week suspension. I didn't think it was going to be quite that extreme.
And it wasn't just that, right? It was him saying, do that to me and we'll be just fine.
No, it was very weird and very inappropriate, and I understand that he didn't quite mean it the way that it came out, but still, just general ick around all of it. Anyway, we will see if we can find this story. We'll also continue to take your calls on the dumbest thing in sports this week.
Oh, it was a preseason game. That's what it was.
Next, a preseason game. Okay. Well, actually, Coach Willie Fritz of the Houston Cougars is going to join us, and we'll talk about his former players at Tulane in Tajay Spears and new Titans wide receiver Jaquan Jackson. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken around here. Lunch right around the corner. Think about any one of their Middle Tennessee locations. Titans football right around the corner, and they keep pulling players out of the Tulane Green Wave. Now, Willie Fritz is now coaching with Houston, and the Cougars will open their season against UNLV on August 31st in Houston, but he was at Tulane for the 7 seasons previous, if I'm not mistaken, Coach?
Eight seasons.
8 seasons at Tulane.
Yeah, 8 seasons. You got me hungry. I haven't ate lunch yet, and you start talking about the chicken. That's great chicken there.
Well, listen, Coach Fritz, we will get you some Hattie B's ASAP.
Hey, we got Hattie B's down in Texas now.
I've had it before. It's good. We have one down here.
Oh yeah, we got him. We got him on speed dial. You speak this into existence, Coach, and you're gonna end up with a bunch of hot chicken on your porch.
Coach, pop over to Austin, to Dallas. They got some locations down there.
I didn't know that. That's good. I'll have to check it out.
So we appreciate you taking some time. We know you're busy with everything going on with the program in Houston right now, but we do love the opportunity to get to know some of the players who make their way from college to the pros at this level, from the people that know them best. And I know that you know Tajay Spears and Jaquan Jackson very, very well from their time at Tulane. Just first with Tajay, because of course they have a close relationship, having lived together and as roommates at Tulane. How impressed were you with Tajay in his first season? I know you know what he's capable of, and I know you made an appearance with our friends Blaine Bishop and Mickey Ryan last year after he was drafted here. But how impressed were you with what you saw from Tajay in year one?
Well, I was impressed. I wasn't surprised, to be quite honest with you. I think that the Titans got a steal in the 3rd round. I really do. It was a great pick by their front office. Both those young men are just great people. One of the great things about being a college coach is you get to be around guys for a long period of time, and those 2 guys certainly are just great representatives of your football program, university, everything. But Tajay just I just had some big games when we needed him to have big games. I remember the Cotton Bowl where he had over 200 yards against USC. We had the conference championship game where, we had to win that game in order to go to the Cotton Bowl. And against UCF, he had another huge game. And he can do everything. Was the thing I tried to talk to people about. He can run inside. He can run outside. He can catch the ball. And then he does something that a lot of backs think is optional. He'll block. He'll pick up a blitzing linebacker in the core, a block out on the perimeter. He'll do whatever you ask him to do. I didn't play him much in the kicking game, but he practiced a bunch in the kicking game for us. And he would have jumped in there and done anything. I know he's returning now with the Titans as well. So just an outstanding football player and young man, and I'm just so happy to see all the success he had this past season.
Well, you talk about the person that he is, and obviously, having only covered him and Titans fans getting to know him for 1 season so far, it's immediate how much of that genuineness comes through. And as you're building a program up like you were at Tulane and achieving the heights that you did there before moving on to your next stop at Houston as opportunities became available, how big a part of that turnaround were players like Tajay because of not just the players but the people that they were?
Huge part of it. We lost very, very few players to the portal, and a lot of that's because of the culture that we established, and Tajay and Jaquan were a big, big part of that. Those guys were just around all the time, and our players were very close. The coaches were very close with the players. It just was Tulane's not a real large university, so you got to know the other students. I think the other students felt like, they really knew Tajay well because he was around all the time. I remember he kind of got banged up a little bit in our conference championship game, and he's walking off the field, and the whole stadium was just chanting Tajay, Tajay. I think that's because of the students knew him and what a good person that he is. So just those guys help make a program. Those guys are your best players and also are your best leaders and also are your best people.
When Houston coach Willie Fritz is here with us on 104.5 The Zone, we're talking about his former players at Tulane in Tajay Spears, and here in just a second, new Titans 6th-round pick, Jaquan Jackson. With that being said, what's the process like for you in the pre-draft, coaches? Teams are trying to vet these players, not specific to Tajay or Jaquan, just generally. How much feedback are you able to give them at pro days and throughout the course of the process about not just a player, as we talked about, but the person as well?
Well, one of the things we do differently, I guess, in a lot of programs is, I have open practices with NFL scouts. I let them come in anytime they want to. They can sit down in meetings. I tell our guys, if you got good meeting habits, good practice habits, this is going to be a huge advantage for you. If you don't, it's going to be a disadvantage for you. And, they would sit in and watch practice over and over and over again. I probably had some kids get drafted at a higher round than maybe people thought, but it's because the scouts came in over and over and over again and saw how, those guys went about their work. And then also, I always try to go to the Senior Bowl, and when I have guys participating in it, and talk to them about that individual. A lot of the scouts come up and talk to me. They're going to make their own minds up, but it certainly doesn't hurt them when they got a cheerleader and their head coach and position coach and coordinators and everybody associated with the program. So we feel like if a guy goes through our program, he's going to be able to transition into the NFL game, because we try to run our practices and our programs, we model it off NFL teams. So there isn't that big of a change for him.
Coach, when it comes to Jaquan Jackson, obviously the Titans' 6th-round pick at wide receiver, you immediately noticed the amount of people he was surrounded by, whether it's his uncle Ed Reed, obviously roommates with Tajay Spears, and I've also seen it noted his relationship with Darnell Mooney. They were teammates early in Jaquan's career playing for you at Tulane. How did you see that relationship kind of blossom? How beneficial was that to Jaquan Jackson? And what are some of the similarities and differences maybe between Darnell Mooney now with the Falcons and Jaquan Jackson?
Well, Jaquan, number one, him and Tajay really are best friends. Nowadays, everybody says they got 800 best friends, but those guys really are best friends.
No, Coach, I know we spent half the Zoom call with Tajay. He was at the draft party for Jaquan when we were meeting with them as Titans media.
Yeah, you always hear that all the time. And when it happened, I was like, God dang, they really are best buddies. And always were together, always hung out all the time. They knew each other before they came to Tulane. Very similar upbringings. He's another guy. Both these two guys, would vacuum and clean up the locker room. I mean, not one or two times. I'm talking hundreds of times while they were there at Tulane. And some of that, Jaquan got from his uncle Ed Reed. I don't know if you ever saw that video where he talks about, guys cleaning up the locker room with the Ravens, how embarrassed he was about it. But,
right.
Jaquan, just another guy that, just did everything right. He came in and when I heard that he was getting picked, I was just very, very excited for him. I know it'll be an easy transition. The first thing I did was text both of them. I said, I wonder who you guys are going to have as roommates. So I think they're going to live together as well. So just a neat deal to see his progression. Talking about Darnell Mooney. Darnell, I'm also very close with Darnell. Darnell came over here and trained at the University of Houston and was here for, I think he was here 4 months. And, just wanted to get in the best shape he could because he knew he was going to sign a big contract, which he did with the Atlanta Falcons. And then Jaquan came over here for about a week and trained over here as well. So it was neat to see him every day during spring ball. And I introduced both those guys to, our team here at the University of Houston, let them talk a little bit because they're just such great role models for guys who want to vault to that next level.
Titans have not had much as far as the playmaking in the return game here in the last couple of years, Coach, and as adding Tajay to the mix last year certainly did help. But what kind of player are they getting specifically in the return game in Jaquan?
Well, he's got a lot of confidence, and you got to have that, as a return guy, particularly with punt returns. And it sounds like what they're doing with the new rules, you're going to have more kick returns as well. I had a lot of people start calling me when that rule change occurred because of what Jaquan has shown in the return game. But, he's also a very willing blocker. Again, I'm saying that because some guys think that's optional, running backs and wide receivers. He'll do a good job blocking when he needs to block. He's got tremendous speed. He's a deep threat. He also can run those, routes that you got to have great precision with. And just, punt return, he had a bunch of big ones for us in his career. Matter of fact, I think he had 2 called back that were over 80 yards apiece that, they called a phantom block in the back, away from the return, and it had no impact on the return. So he had just a tremendous career for us as a receiver and also as a return man. I think the Titans will be very happy with him in that regard.
Houston head coach, former Tulane coach, Willie Fritz here with us on 104.5 The Zone.
Well, and coach, as you get ready to start your first season with the Cougars, going from Group of 5 to Power 5, obviously Houston now in the Big 12, and the arms race. Power 4. That's right. That's going to take me a minute, Coach.
R.I.P. the Pac-12. We're devastated around
here. That's going to take me a while. You seem to have adjusted, though.
Yeah, I'm from this area. My daughters are already living here in Houston. I used to be the head coach at Sam Houston State, which is right up the road, and I was the head coach at Blaine Junior College. Coached some high school ball as well. In between there, I left and went up to Central Missouri. I actually coached Delaney Walker at University of Central Missouri. I know he's a former Titan great, but I got a lot of experiences here in the great state of Texas. So it was a good fit for me and my family. We loved everything about Tulane, but I wanted to compete at that highest level, Power 4 level, and I just feel like this is a good fit for me.
And the Houston program that obviously has high expectations. So for you coming from Tulane to this level, can you just kind of put it into context for us, the whirlwind that is a head coach taking a job into the Big 12 from the Group of 5 in this current climate with the transfer portal and everything else that comes with it?
Well, it's a lot different now. 5 years ago, that's one of the things about both those two guys. I'm sure they had opportunities to go other places with the success they had at Tulane, because we did not have a real robust NIL, but both those guys were loyal to the program, loyal to their teammates and the university and the city, and stayed there at Tulane. And that's the thing we've got to build here at the University of Houston. We're able to maybe beat some teams that we didn't quite have the same talent as at Tulane because of the culture, and that's something that's it's hard to put a finger on it, but it takes a little while to establish that. But that's something that just the portal and the NIL, that's different for me certainly. And then just also that first year, just going around and speaking at different events. Since I got here December 4th, I think I spoke at 47. So I counted it up the other day, different events. I'm going to one today. I was in Dallas on Monday. I had lunch yesterday with former Cougar great Elmo Wright. I don't know if you ever remember Elmo Wright, great receiver at the Kansas City Chiefs after he played here at University of Houston. But, just doing stuff every day. You want to get out and about and sell your brand. And we feel like we've got a great brand here at University of Houston.
I was worried that coaches lose their voices all the time, and I just assumed it was spring ball, Coach. But it's because they've got you speaking so much on a regular basis. What the hell are you doing more radio interviews?
I've been offering encouragement to players for years and years, and that's how I've lost my voice. Sometimes I get after these guys a little bit, but Tajay and Jaquan will tell you I sound like this 365 days a year. I fried my vocal cords many years ago.
That's what it is to be a coach, absolutely. Houston coach Willie Fritz, kind enough to make some time here for us on 104.5 The Zone. Thank you so much for it, Coach. We appreciate it, and good luck this season. We'll look forward to watching.
Thank you very much. Go Cougs.
That's Willie Fritz with us on 104.5 The Zone. Some good insight from the man who knows these guys as well as anybody.
Really quickly, so much respect for Willie Fritz, who at 64 has taken that jump for the first time into the, as he said, now Power 4. And
he corrected you so fast.
He did. And has adjusted with everything that comes with it. Like the players that Houston are bringing in the transfer portal from all over the country, including a couple from Tulane. But Willie Fritz, in, I believe, year 6 at Tulane in 2021, went 2-10. A lot of people wanted him fired. Following season, they go 12-2. They beat USC in the Cotton Bowl. Tyjae Spears goes off, like he said. 2023, they go 11-2. They win in the Military Bowl. So much respect for a guy that has adjusted with college football, has stayed in the game, and now is getting that opportunity to coach at the highest possible level in the Power 4.
Marcellus Banks on YouTube says, y'all ask about the jerseys. Honestly, Lucas brought it up during the commercial break.
Legal matter.
And I thought about it. I was like, do we really want to hit Willie Fritz over the head with, hey, coach, what are you doing trying to steal the Oilers jerseys? Because that's not his thing. That's not. It's if we spoke to, some athletic department administrators at Houston, I would have questions about what exactly they're doing with the Houston Cougars uniform. But I'm not gonna hit Willie Fritz with that. That's not his fight, I wouldn't think. 615-737-1045 is the number if you'll want to join the discussion. Coming up next, some interesting news on the Preds and a roster move that I didn't think was going to happen. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. Two Rivers Ford is the best, not just because they are the South's most trusted Ford dealer, but because they have cool events all the time at the dealership in Mount Juliet, like this one on Saturday. A free family event this Saturday from 9 to noon to kick off Police Week. It's called Blue and You, and it's a chance to engage with local law enforcement and first responders. You can bring the kids to meet and mingle with the dedicated officers who work around the clock to keep our community safe. You can even get on the inside of a police car. Can you imagine Lucas and Jackson running around on the inside of a police car, setting off the sirens and whatnot? You couldn't stop them. So take the kids, have a great time at Two Rivers Ford, just 7 miles east of Nashville International Airport, 76 Belinda Parkway, for Blue and You, a free event this Saturday, May 11th, from 9 to noon at Two Rivers Ford. Now, normally we don't do much hockey after the hockey season concludes, though there was some fantastic playoff hockey last night. There is a little bit of local news, though, from the NHL.com. Robbie Stanley had this last night where he said Barry Trotz, the general manager of the Nashville Predators, is working on an extension for UC Saros this offseason. Now, that's not news that he signed it, but as UC has 1 year remaining on his current deal and was the subject of trade rumors, not just at the trade deadline, but, we talked about it here with Teresa, the idea that the Preds should try and move him for as much as they can get back and make the move to Askarov, who's the Milwaukee Admirals goalie prospect. It sounds like, they're going to continue to have conversations, but trending towards an extension? Did that surprise you? Because certainly it surprised me.
I thought it could go either way. I think just because I think a lot of most Preds fans, I think, want them to move on from Saros. But it's also a question of how ready is Askarov to come in and start from day one.
And I'm not informed enough about the hockey prospects to know that.
Yeah, I don't think that there's a thought that Askarov is ready right now to be a number one goaltender in the NHL. Like, he probably believes that. He's probably ready to take that step. But when you go from, you're talking about a franchise that went from Pekka Rinne and then was able to pretty seamlessly make that transition, had one of the best duos in the NHL, and the way they were able to work into UC Saros, where now UC Saros is playing more games than the vast majority of goaltenders in the NHL. Mm-hmm. Like, Kevin Lankinen did some good things last season, but UC Saros is in there, for the most part, night in and night out. So I'm not shocked by this, because let's wait and see what the terms are going to be. Like, how much of an extension are we talking? Would it probably limit the chances of the Preds moving Saros at the best possible value? Yeah, most likely. But Alex Doherty told us the other day, listen, if you trade UC Saros, the return's not going to be as great as you're probably thinking in your head as a Preds fan, because the reality, I think, is goaltending can't really carry you to a Stanley Cup anymore the way that it did for the LA Kings with Quick, or there's a few examples out there, not one that recent. Like, I struggle to think of one more recent than Quick with the Kings those years ago. So, yeah, I don't think the return would be that good. And if you want to try and go through that transition again, then let's see what the terms are. Let's see how long the extension would be for to have Askarov as a backup and get back to having an actual duo that you feel good about playing and starting both players routinely. But Preds just got beat by a third-string goaltender, right? And Preds struggled to score. Because
they didn't get beat by the third-string goaltender. They struggled to beat the third-string goaltender.
They didn't lose because the third-string goaltender was having the games of his life. Yeah. They lost because they didn't have enough scoring depth. They need better from their forwards. They need to generate more offense, which is Andrew Burnett's whole thing, and they did a lot of that in the regular season. So that's probably the most contentious point for Preds fans, is we want to see that money go towards goals, not goaltending. But if you want a transition from Saros to Askarov, I don't think it's as simple as just deal Saros now and throw Askarov in there and we're good to go.
Well, and you can interact on the FNM Bank chat. You can live stream the show, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You can also call us, 615-737-1045. Somebody writes on YouTube, high octane. An extension for Saros might make the trade more valuable. He has only 1 year left on his deal. It's hard to trade a goalie on an expiring contract.
It's hard to trade a goalie making $7-8 million a year.
Well, that's the thing. And I see some people pointing out, hopefully it's closer to 7 instead of 8 for the purposes of your salary cap. Value of goaltending is an interesting conversation. I know it's something you brought up in a pre-show discussion the other day. Rainy day type of topic, but still. Be curious to see what the Preds do, but the messaging around it right now is from Barry Trotz, quote, "We'll be in talks. I'm sure it's not going to be definitely a July 1 announcement. I think it's going to be a process with his people, his representatives, but I do know this, Saros wants to be here, and he's been a big part of it. I'd like him to be here, so we're going to work hard at getting something done with him." So they're signaling that they're going to bring him back. What that figure looks like, as Lucas said, what the contract looks like, and does it potentially make him more viable as a trade asset? We'll have to wait and see. Best wide receiver trio in the NFL. How high do the Titans rank in that particular department? Now that they've signed Tyler Boyd, now that they have DeAndre Hopkins and added Calvin Ridley to the mix, just keeping it to the top three, because that is the Titans' top three right out of the gate, 2 new parts. And Hopkins coming into the second year of an expiring deal. How high would you rank them relative to the rest of the NFL? Because immediately people are in the comment section saying Titans are top 3. I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. And before we have that talk, you guys were doing some pre-show prep, and Bert was trying to bog down the pre-show prep. It sounded like things got contentious. It sounded like it's kind of sounded like the Drake Kendrick Lamar beef. Have you been keeping up? Because things were said to one another that cannot necessarily be taken back, and it felt like that was the kind of contentiousness that I walked into the studio with between you, Bert, and Jackson. Nothing has happened other than Kendrick calling Drake a pedophile. Okay, so that's good.
Yes, Jackson and I have been crunching the numbers, and I believe there are 2 different ways to have this conversation. I think the way to set it up is to have a very non-nuanced one where it is purely the best wide receiver trios in the NFL, not taking into account tight ends, not taking into account running backs, quarterbacks, coaching staff, none of those things. The most productive wide receiver trios in the NFL based on what those 3 players did last season, regardless of what team they were on last season, like the Titans, right? Taking into account Tyler Boyd and Calvin Ridley's production last season. So, Buck, who do you think had the most productive, going into 2024, has the most productive wide receiver trio in the NFL purely based on the numbers they put up in the 2023 season?
Can you give me one hint?
Best wide receiver in the NFL last season.
Oh, Dolphins.
Yeah. The Miami Dolphins with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and now Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham brings 565 yards and 3 touchdowns from last season. So in total, that trio for the Dolphins last season combined for 3,378 yards and 20 touchdowns.
Oh, God.
It's best in the league.
That's a really, really high bar for a team that, famously does not score touchdowns on a regular basis to all of a sudden do a heel turn and start scoring, 30 a game.
Second, in that regard, is the only other team to have a combined number of over 3,000. Who do you think that is?
I don't know, but we'll find out coming up next.
It is 11:58. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. In case you missed it, Tuesday, the Titans are reportedly signing free agent wide receiver Tyler Boyd. The 29-year-old played for Brian Callahan for 5 seasons in Cincinnati. Last season, he caught 67 passes for 667 yards and 2 touchdowns. Titans also made a transaction on Tuesday to waive defensive lineman Shaquille Brown. The NFL schedule release is 1 week from today, May 15th. Reportedly will be the release date. Also, numbers have been assigned for Titans draft picks. The first and second round picks, J.C. Latham wearing 55. DeAndre Sweat, the defensive lineman, will wear 93. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour is upon us. We teased a question going to break because we're getting ready to talk about the top wide receiver trios in the NFL. Ironically enough, the Titans may have one, and I think Titans fans don't really know what to do with themselves. Do you see Tyreek Hill tweeting about the Titans wide receiving core? How many times do you think that's happened on purpose? Tyreek Hill paying compliments to the amount of skill position talent that they have spent money and draft picks and other resources acquiring throughout the course of the offseason. A lot of people like the Tyler Boyd signing specific to the talent that Tennessee already has on the roster. So it's worth taking a look. Bring up Tyreek Hill because the Dolphins do have the best wide receiver trio in football right now. Even OBJ at 31, who will probably be 32 by the time the season concludes, or will be at least close to 32 by the time the season concludes.
November.
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, that's really, really good, especially in a scheme that's going to allow the wide receivers to maximize their abilities. Dolphins are number 1. Now, how you stack them afterwards is pretty interesting because to reset the question that Lucas asked the audience, or rather asked me before we went to break, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, so understanding this is not the entire conversation, but just best wide receiver trios purely based on production from last season, combined production from last season, even if it was a different team and not factoring in tight ends, right? So when you're talking about the Chiefs, you're not talking about Travis Kelce. So the Chiefs are not really a part of this because we're also not factoring in the rookies who haven't taken a snap yet in the NFL. Like the Bears could very well be one of the best receiver trios in the NFL if Rome Odunze immediately is productive and joins Keenan Allen and DJ Moore.
Oh, Houston. Houston might very well be the best wide receiver trio in football by the end of the year. But heading into this year, like you said, this is the best way that we can kind of determine or at least project what this is going to look like. So
Miami's number 1. In that regard of production, who's number 2? You already said it.
I already said it?
Yeah, you just said it.
Houston?
It's Houston.
Really?
Houston with Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, and Nico Collins. Those receivers combined for 3,189 yards last season.
Damn, I didn't realize Nico Collins had damn near 1,300 yards.
Mm-hmm.
8 touchdowns?
And 23 touchdowns combined between those 3.
Woo. If Tank Dell is even remotely healthy, I mean, he was arguably one of the best wide receivers in football, full stop, last year. And that's playing alongside a legitimate number 1. Stephon Diggs in the mix is going to be interesting because both Nico and Stephon Diggs went over 1,000 yards last year. Tank Dell just short of, just over 700 yards, 7 receiving touchdowns and 47 catches on 75 targets. Texans, I bet we're talking about them at the end of the year, provided Stephon Diggs doesn't have a nuclear meltdown at some point with the lack of targets that are going to be going his way. I would expect the Houston Texans, just based on talent, to be the best wide receiver core by the end of the year.
D-Tag on the F&M Bank chat says the Lions probably 3rd in this. Not really, because the Lions' share of those numbers went to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Who had over 1,500 receiving yards.
No, that's not just a fine. We need something more.
I think that's 2 fines.
What do I have back there that's significant enough to justify 2 fines? Anything?
I'm telling you, that was it. I didn't even register that I was saying that until after I said it.
Do you know
and
that
I
this
gave
man,
myself a good chuckle.
This man spent a commercial break not that long ago telling us about him thinking jokes that would do well in a stand-up comedy bit. That's something that you said to Jackson and I. Is that one of your jokes? The lion's share? sound like the cowardly lion laughing afterwards? What's wrong with you? Shame on you.
But the point is,
I was out. They pulled me back in.
the point is, the Lions' number 2 receiver last season was Sam Laporta, who is a tight end. We're not factoring tight ends into this. This is purely based on wide receiver rooms. Buck, the Tennessee Titans are number 3 in this discussion because Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Tyler Boyd combined for 2,740 yards in 2023 and 17 touchdowns.
Not have had that on the list. I would have said Seattle.
Seattle is just behind. They, Metcalf, Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba combined for 2,636. The Browns are very close as well. Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, and Jerry Jeudy, who is now a Cleveland Brown, combined for 2,648 yards.
I would have probably said Tampa, but Russell Gage is a free agent, and I don't know who the third wide receiver in Tampa is right now.
It's pretty much Godwin and Evans. Yeah.
So who was the third wide receiver in Philly last year? Because I know they signed Devontae Parker, and that's probably going to be the number 3.
So last year it was Dallas Goedert. And then, it went A.J. Brown in terms of receiving yards.
Yeah, A.J. Devonta Smith at just over 1,066. Then who was the third receiver?
Then it was Goddard, and then Swift, and then Kenneth Gainwell. And then Zacchaeus.
Oh, that's right, because Gainwell's a running back.
Yes, Gainwell's a running back. Yeah. Zacchaeus had 164 yards. He was the receiver with the third most yards for the Eagles last season.
Are you scared of Zacchaeus' first name? Is that why you're just calling him by his last name? Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on that.
So this is not a question of would you rather have the Titans receiver room or the Eagles receiver room. I think most people would take the duo of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith.
You would be fool not to.
Right, over Ridley, Hopkins, and Boyd. Age has to be a factor too, right? So
A.J. just turned 27? 28? He's not 30. He's not close to 30.
Just got himself another big deal.
Yeah, he did.
As did Devontae Smith.
Trippin' Titan says his first name is Cicadas. No, we'll talk about what did you call them on the poll?
Our incoming cicada overlords.
Insect overlords that are taking over everything. What, Jackson?
AJ's 26.
God, that's gross.
Oh. Why?
Oh, it just makes you feel so much worse about it.
Just because he's
only 26?
Right.
Oh. That just hit me in the sternum. 26 years old?
Yeah, he was 24 when he was traded from the Titans.
Somebody ought to be fired again.
No, don't fire.
No,
don't fire
you
some poor.
You can't talk me off the ledge on that.
Don't fire some poor equipment manager just to.
No, I want blood. Are you kidding me? He's only 26.
Stop, Buck. We've moved on. All right, we can't bash a caller for calling in and making his no of the week. Ryan Tannehill throwing an interception or 3 against the Bengals 3 years ago.
No, that's not fair. You didn't think he was 26 either.
And then get all worked up about A.J. Brown suddenly.
That's a shocking revelation.
But
I'm sick.
In all seriousness, so understanding that just purely in terms of numbers, the Titans have the third most productive wide receiver trio based on last year's numbers in the NFL. With that aside, what neighborhood would you put the Titans wide receiver trio in across the league based on talent, based on age, and other factors that have to be taken into consideration, like who the tight end is, who the running back is, the quarterback, the coaching staff?
The biggest knock on them is their age, collectively.
Sure.
Where Ridley is the youngest, but they're both 29, Boyd and Ridley. I'm not sure who's going to be 31st, but 31st, not 31st. Either way. Hop going to be 32.
Boyd has about a month on Ridley, so Boyd will turn 31st.
Yeah, that the youngest wide, and listen, age is not the end-all, be-all, because we've had it pointed out to us before, wide receivers can produce into their 30s. Yes, that's so, but not all of them do it seamlessly, And not a lot of them make the necessary adjustments to prolong their careers that way, whether that be, injury, athleticism, or otherwise. It's not as easy as I think people want to make it. Certainly not at that position. I would think, though, by production, we're talking about them no lower than top 8. And that's before I have any idea what the offense is going to look like. All I know is they've signed another wide receiver, and they've basically created Cincinnati 2.0 here. Now, Ridley is not Jamar Chase, and Hopkins is probably pretty close to T. Higgins, even though one's significantly younger than the other. They're probably comparable in terms of what they give you, and you'd probably trust Hop more than you would T. Higgins.
You trust Hop more. Higgins obviously has the age in his favor, but he had his struggles at times last year, and he bounced back well, dealt with injuries too. It wasn't a great year for T. Higgins.
JR says Ridley is biologically 25. I appreciate him telling us that, but he's not he's metaphorically 25.
Yeah, he's metaphorically 25.
He's 29. So
maybe he identifies as 25.
Do not trigger this audience like that. Do not.
Would you take the 49ers pass-catching core? Because now we're talking George Kittle.
Yes.
And over the Titans.
Yes.
And that's with Brandon Ayuk.
Yes.
We don't know what it is. Okay.
The answer is yes.
Okay. The Rams. Just for the duo of Nakua and Kupp.
Puka is I don't want to, am I wrong to want to see him do it again before I'm really in on the Puka Nakua hype? Because the man had 1,486 yards last year. He had 6 touchdowns. He had 105 receptions. Am I wrong for just being like, all right, do it again?
It's a high bar.
No, I know. But because Cooper Kupp, where Puka Nakua took off, Cooper Kupp, and he dealt with injuries, right? He was slow to come back. Was it an ACL or an Achilles? I can't remember. I don't think it was an Achilles. I want to say it's an ACL. Either way, Cooper Kupp, slow to come back from injuries, did still produce 737 yards, 5 touchdowns, 59 receptions. I would take the Titans over the Rams. Because Tutu Atwell's tiny. He weighs as much as my left leg. Like, he's going to spontaneously combust if he ever gets actual contact.
You take Hopkins and Ridley over Kupp and Nakua?
Yeah, because Cooper Kupp, if I'm going to hold age against the Titans wide receiver, I'm going to hold age against Cooper Kupp.
Puka Nakua going into his second season.
You can't do it all.
Theriathly in the F&M Bank chat.
What the hell?
Theriathly. That's what it's. TheRiouThly.
No, we're not going to start pronouncing these things phonetically, because one got me on primetime the other day and had me saying purple nurple.
Theriathly in the F&M Bank chat.
Poiple noiple.
Says that you're insane, first of all, for saying you'd rather have Hopkins and Ridley over Nakua and Kupp. And he says Eagles, Rams, Dolphins, 49ers, Seahawks, Texans, Vikings, Bears, and Bengals. Those are the teams he puts ahead of the Titans as far as their wide receiver room.
Yeah, I'm with that. Probably not the Rams. I swap Titans for Rams. Not in any particular order. Like, he's not stacking them. He's not ranking them.
Nakua and Kupp are a better wide receiver duo than Hopkins and Ridley. Like, if you want to bring in age, okay, that's an older duo.
I don't know that
Cooper Kupp is 30.
That definitively. Like, that's, I don't think that definitive. I don't know that to be definitive just yet. I'd like to see them do it together. This is all a projection. But yeah, I don't think that you can flatly say that Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua are that much better than Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not seeing that, I guess.
Sure,
what am I missing?
You'd like to see Puka Nakua do it for more than one season,
because I'm willing to hear the argument, but what's the real argument?
Cooper Kupp is coming off an offensive player of the year. Not the season before last. He had some injuries this past season, right?
I don't think Cooper Kupp has not been like the Cooper Kupp in a little while. It feels like. So maybe I'm being too harsh on Cooper Kupp, because it's not like I don't think he's a stud. He's a great player in that scheme. And Stafford being there helps a lot of that, but Stafford's also banged the hell up. Not that you should hold that against the wide receivers, but you kind of have to.
Fair enough. Kupp has missed games each of the last 2 years since his crazy near 2K yard season in 2021.
It's been a little while. So I'm not saying they're probably pretty even.
It's a fine line there, but I don't take a huge issue with any of those that Theriathly put in the F&M Bank chat.
You have to stop saying
Vikings, Justin Jefferson carries so much weight in that wide receiver room. Jordan Addison there as well. but top 10. Like, we can definitively say the Titans have a top 10 receiver room in the NFL.
They should. Yeah, absolutely. 615-737-1045. Do you agree or disagree that the Titans have a top 10 wide receiver room with the trio of Ridley, Hopkins, and now Tyler Boyd? We'll talk about it coming up next. We'll also have Brad Hopkins in studio, B-Hop, who is our new zone teammate around here and who is co-hosting Blaine and Mickey for the rest of the week while Blaine is in Dubai. I'm Buck Risings, 104.5 The Zone. The Tennessee Men's Clinic can help you if you've been dealing with erectile dysfunction, like a lot of dudes do. Half of guys deal with ED at some point in time. Nothing to freak out about, nothing to put off, nothing to hide from. You just need to get the best support system in place, and that, my friends, is the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Their ED and weight loss treatments have truly changed lives, and they've been doing it for over a decade here in Middle Tennessee. The urologist and providers at the Tennessee Men's Clinic have helped guys with ED and weight loss, and they now even offer aesthetic enhancements and cosmetic procedures. Their ED and weight loss treatments, as I mentioned, can truly change lives and are non-surgical. They're seeing success rates as high as 90%. It's time to feel amazing and hit your goals this year. So stop thinking about it and call the Tennessee Men's Clinic. 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or go online to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com and book an appointment today. So many people trust Two Rivers Ford. Football players, working moms, business owners, Why? Because Two Rivers Ford has been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Welcome back to the show. We are fueled by Hattie B's Hot Chicken around here. It is the lunch hour. I can tell because Lucas has a little bit of saliva off to the side of his lip, which means I know he's thinking about Hattie B's. What side are you thinking about? Wipe your face off. It's disgusting. We have company.
What are you talking about?
For God's sakes, would you stop drooling in the studio?
Why are you making me feel self-conscious in front of
Because
P-Hop?
you should about these bodily fluids and this situation. Figure it out over there.
Man, can eat some Reese's in peace.
Lucas, what are we doing here, man? We're snorting stuff in here. We're doing all kinds of
the
stuff.
Attack on my character today.
I'm telling you, it's like there was just a mountain of booger sugar in front of him, and I just hear right in front of the microphone.
It's
Who are
allergy
you?
season, damn it. And I've never had allergies before, and I do now, and it's driving me insane.
Just relax, okay? Contain yourself. Brad Hopkins is in studio. We're very happy to have him. He's hosting Blaine and Mickey this week. You'll hear him across all the Zone shows on a more regular basis around here. In fact, Lucas is going to Italy, so I may just replace him with Brad Hopkins while he's gone out of the country for a little while. Who's to say? B-Hop, we appreciate you coming in. We're sorry that that you have to enter this contentious environment because I know things are much nicer on Blaine and Mickey on a regular basis.
Gotta admit it, man. I've been listening to you guys the last 48 hours. Well, the shows that you are preceding us, of course, Blaine and myself, or Mickey and myself. And I'm starting to really dig the culture. I'm starting to see why you guys are so alluring. You know what I'm saying? I love the underlying story of Lucas seemingly wanting to undermine you, Buck, and somehow take your job and lock you in a closet.
Seemingly.
I love how they're
not seemingly.
Brad, he paid Slay to get up on stage on Friday and be like, how many of y'all think it should be the Lucas Panzica show? There was applause.
Not seeming.
No, I'm not gonna say that that's genuine.
Unbelievable.
But I think it's funny how you guys play off of that. You guys are incredibly insightful, and I love listening to you guys. You guys do a good job.
Oh my God, we're just sitting here making people feel dumb.
Well,
making people dumber on a regular basis.
You're not as mean as you portray too. There's that.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah,
that is true.
I got a reputation to uphold. So Brad Hopkins is here with us, and the Titans have drafted an offensive lineman in the first round. I'm sure you guys have talked about this on a regular basis, but as you look at the strength of the group now, B-Hop, with from left to right, Latham, who is going to make this transition as a rookie, Skoronski in year 2, now Lloyd Cushenberry. We're thinking that it's probably going to be Brunskill and Nicholas Petit-Frere to start the at least training camp, and then how these guys, go about the competition of it. They brought in a lot of different bodies at both tackle and guard to see who their best 5 might be under Bill Callahan, but just your initial thoughts about the work that the Titans have done on that unit specifically.
I would say the left side's pretty much cemented, right, for the future, the immediate future anyway, with 2 first-round picks on that side of the football the last couple of years. It makes sense. We get it. They can play alongside of each other for a number of years, and it's going to only help their production, okay? Sadiq Charles and Lloyd Cushenberry, if you guys don't know, they were former college teammates. So maybe at some point in time, they see the lineup, because it wouldn't be that hard for a backup left guard to go ahead and back up, if not start on the right side, with a guy that he has some experience with, at least in footwork and technique and whatnot. Now, of course, that right tackle spot, whether it's Dylan or whether it's Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, like you just mentioned, it's open right now. And I would hope that there was vast improvement with the connection with Bill Callahan, a guy, Buck, that coached me in one of my Pro Bowls. So I understand exactly, Lucas, how this guy, communicates, and he's top notch. I think that the respect that he holds for guys that are actually able to compete at this level, plus his knowledge, make him such a unique coach. So hopefully you'll see a much improved, even just the right side itself, with not as established players as these young guys that are set to be tomorrow's future for the Titans.
Is it enough to accomplish what this team is looking to accomplish? Because, it's you would like for the strengths to be evened out a little bit so it doesn't look, or at least project quite as lopsided from left to right, and the talent disparity that I think they have there. Because I'm a little down on NPF just generally. I've seen enough of him through a year, and he only played in like 3 games last season, so maybe I am being a bit harsh. But Brunskill is a career backup and a nice swing player. He can play multiple positions. You need a guy like that on your roster, but I'm a little bit jaded just on the right side, and I'm curious if you think it's enough right now.
Probably not.
Okay.
Just being honest. I mean, listen, I'm not being a Daniel Brunskill hater. The dude has had to bet on himself his entire career. He wasn't even a draftee. You know what I'm saying? He was a guy that has had to fight and scratch and claw for, whatever 5-6 seasons that he's been in the league to this point. I get it, and I like those success stories of guys that are unheralded coming in and carving out a niche for themselves, but they need to be more competitive on that right side, period. But I will also say, Buck, the thing that helps with the flow of an offense is more than just giving the quarterback ample time to do his job. There's also just the connection that receivers that run proper routes, because of the connection and expectation and the relationship that's established between good receiving core and their quarterback. And these are some veterans, bro, that we brought in to be able to do that. Okay, so they're only going to help Will Levis because of their experience and the gravitas that they come in here with. We already understand a little bit of who they are and what we'd expect them to be. So I would expect this good locker room unit on the offensive side of the football particularly that can use its chemistry to make sure that everything is on time, on schedule. Then that way protection is not an issue. If the guy's got to hold on to the ball just a little bit longer because the routes are janky or they're just being locked down, then guess what? You're probably going to get hit at some point in time. Now, then again, you want to have at least time to go back and go through a couple of progressions. The protection has to be at least that good, and that's where the guys up front have to be on the same page. And I think that with the steps that they've made now, especially with the additions, but even some of their support staff and Bill Callahan, the son of Brian, those are going to help tremendously in an issue that plagued the Titans so bad last year.
Well, to your point about the wide receivers, Brad Hopkins, Titans legend, in studio with us. You can hear him from 1 to 3 today on Blaine and Mickey, filling in for the Hitman this week. To your point about the wide receivers and the disruption of the passing game, that's why you see, I don't want to say that teams look like they're prioritizing corner more than edge rushers right now, but they're certainly prioritizing it as much as edge rushers to disrupt these guys at the line of scrimmage, to play press coverage, and to get the quarterback out of rhythm that way, because it's damn hard to get to the quarterback as an edge guy when they're getting rid of the ball in, at maximum, it seems, 2.5 seconds now.
Should almost be considered 1A and 1B. Right, Lucas, when you're talking about the importance of being able to apply pressure to a quarterback, right? Speed up his clock, make him deliver the ball sooner than he wants to. Therefore, the defensive backs, like we're talking about, L'Jarius Sneed, could be a sneaky good pick when you're talking about guys that are clogging up the middle with Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons. Those edge guys can speed up and start making turnovers happen in that back end. But it's a balance. And you know that. That's why you asked the question, Buck. It's a balance of, can I make that quarterback hold on to the ball because his best option I've taken away? Okay, and now that split second is being held in that pocket, my guys get a chance to get a hand on him, creating a negative play. They're disrupting the pocket. So it's got to be a balance between the two.
You overlapped with Michael Ruse the one season, right? His rookie year, 2005.
He was our right tackle my last year.
So he was the right tackle. So you didn't get to. How much of a front row seat did you have to him starting to make that transition to the left?
That's a great question.
I'm just curious how that, because I know him and J.C. Latham, different players, different measurables.
But he was a left tackle, though, Lucas, playing right tackle because I was still there.
Right.
So then when he succeeded me, it was easier for him to just kind of switch back over to what he had already known. He wasn't like a right tackle by trade in college.
Right.
He was a guy that played left, and he understands exactly what that blind side holds. And for a smart guy, like a smart athletic guy, mind you, like Michael Ruse, it's not that hard to change over the mechanics in your mind and then let your technique start taking you the other direction. Simple as you losing your dominant hand and having to use the other one. Eventually, you would become as proficient with that other hand that you have available than you would the one you normally would use.
So is that the first big obstacle for J.C. Latham? Literally flipping the mechanic in his mind from right to left or left to right, whatever dominant hand you use in the scenario?
Sure, because the first time I played right tackle in any sort of significant game was in my first Pro Bowl, and Michael Strahan, we came in around the same time.
When people were actually still playing football in the Pro Bowl.
He laughed and he said, "Man, you never been over here, have you?" I said, "No." And I said, "If you try anything funny, I'm gonna cut you, block you right here." So but he even acknowledged the fact that I was not a right tackle guy. But when you go to the Pro Bowl and they only bring 3 guys, there's a rotation you have to use: left side, right side, out. Left side, right side, out. That's how we rotated. And so eventually you're going to have to go to a side that I never really had that much familiarity with.
I can't imagine a worse person saying, "Oh, you've never been over here before, have you?" Than Michael Strahan.
He's a good dude, though.
Brad Hopkins here in studio with us on 104.5 The Zone.
You said you played for Bill in that Pro Bowl, and I'm sure you know a ton of players that have played under Bill. What is it that separates him? I mean, you played with and played under Mike Munchak, another one of the greats in terms of offensive line coaches. Like, what separates those guys in terms of being the best of the best in the way that they communicate things?
We have free agents lobbying on Twitter to come back because Bill Callahan is here.
When you're talking about pass protection, we'll start there because there's 2 phases. We'll start with pass protection. It's just really about doing the right thing, because the wrong thing will ultimately get you beat every single time, because that's all D linemen are waiting for you to do is do the wrong thing, and then they got you. So I was a fat tight end transitioned to tackle in college, and I got lucky enough to be drafted to a team that had 2 Hall of Famers, one of which I played alongside of for 10 years, while the first one was my coach. So I was completely blessed with having an unbelievable support cast, right? And that's all they taught me, especially Munch is the 10,000 hours thing. When you put so much into it, you master it. And we did so many things that seemed to be monotonous, but then just became second nature for us because we did do it so repetitively. That's what it's about. So it's about recognizing the distance between you and a guy in the play that you're trying to accomplish. It's what technique you're going to use from what you see, what he's been doing from a tendency standpoint to kind of anticipate and start thinking about that. So there's more effort put in off the field than there is actually on the field. And the older you get, you learn how to master that more. But it's really about doing the right things and the wrong things. And Bill made that so obvious. It's like, okay, so what wasn't working for you? You kept turning your shoulders, didn't you? Why do you keep turning your shoulders? You know what I mean? You're asking yourself simple questions.
With that kind of look, too.
Seriously.
Well, why are you doing that, bud?
So that's what I'm saying. He's not going to be a dude that's going to grab you up by the collar and get in your face and start spitting and hollering, right? Buck, he's not that kind of guy. But he is a guy that would almost use logic in the sense that, why do you keep doing dumb stuff? You know what? That's a great question, Coach. I have to ask myself that.
Thank you for asking. I'll think about that on my way home today.
Make it sound so simple.
Brad Hopkins hanging out in studio with us. Blaine and Mickey, he's co-hosting this week while Blaine is in Dubai. So just generally, we're talking about a pretty big philosophical shift for the franchise in terms of what they're going to look like. Titans football has always kind of been one thing. Now, I know Wisenhunt was here and tried to bring in his version of a modern passing game at the time, and we know how famously that blew up on its face, and also his personality did not seem to help things move in the direction that he was trying to move. But when you see the Tyler Boyd signing yesterday, at least for me, B-Hop, I'm immediately thinking, all right, they're going to be out there running, 70% of their snaps in 11 personnel. That's not Titans football that I know.
Okay, so check this out. It's funny how things are cyclical. Now, it might have taken 20 or 30 years for it to come back around, but that's what happened.
That's fine.
See, back when this team was last successful continually in the playoffs and they ran with the name Oilers, we ran a run and shoot offense. So there were 4, sometimes 5 receivers out there on the football field with an empty backfield, and that pocket was rolling right to left, and dudes were flying around. And that was the last time you saw 3 receivers that had 600-plus or more yards in the season together. That was Haywood Jeffries, Webster Slaughter, and Ernest Givens. So what happened was when Kevin Gilbride left and we were then starting to form a more traditional offense with a tight end and a fullback, and we drafted a guy named Edward George, and pounding the ball was a real good formula, and Jeff really prescribed to that. Play some tough flying around defense, and then ground yourself right into the ground kind of a run game with some horses up front and a dude that looks like a dang lineman himself.
That Edward guy, pretty good.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? But what happened is we started having success doing that, and that was the model. Now, CJ would have complemented the same backfield, the emphasis to get the run game going because he was so dang fast, right? And then we get Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's supposed to be the next iteration of Eddie George. But that was the formula. Get yourself a notable run back and establish the ground game and keep going. Now, we got to get back to what it was when it was Kevin Gilbride's offense and we were running variations of the run and shoot. Not saying they're going to be doing that all the time, but I'm saying more of a passing situation that obviously people want to see. They want to see explosive plays. For whatever reason, they want to see a 1,000-yard receiver more than they do a 1,000-yard running back. 1,000 yards is 1,000 yards.
Yeah. Will Levis has some onus to make this offensive line's life easier as well, to make this basically to make all of it go. As you've dealt with quarterbacks at various stages of their careers, Brad, as an offensive lineman, just speaking to that experience, how can a quarterback make your life more seamless, and how can you help bring a young quarterback along as the 5 guys up front?
Him knowing where he's going with the football, or even then knowing where he has chances to maybe hang around for a second and let's see if he can get just a step further down to make an even bigger play. But I know I've got my constants, the guys that are where they're supposed to be, so that way when I do get into trouble, I know exactly where I'm going with the football. And we all know Will's arm is capable of making all the throws. So as long as he knows exactly where he is supposed to or can go with the football, that will allow him then, once he starts making this offense his own, start getting a little confident. You know what I mean? I might give you a little no-look pass every now and then. I might give you something funky because I'm confident in what I'm doing.
Lucas is sick. He wanted Will Levis to fail here.
No, that's not going to happen.
Simply not true. Simply not true.
Sick to his stomach.
I'm just saying Brian will do more for Will's career, which is maybe smart by Rand and Amy to get this connection going where you got an offensive mind finally affecting a young quarterback. Man, this thing could be sick before anything. Sorry, Lucas.
How long? No, don't do
that. See? Yeah. No, one more time, Jackson. We were laughing over it. I agree.
How long did it take for Steve to really get that confidence? Like that swagger that we all remember him with. At what point did you see that click with him?
Les Steckel, who was our offensive coordinator at that time, I bumped into him at a car show. And we started rapping about old Steve and what made him special and whatnot. And he said, B-Hop, very few people know the hours that we spent at my kitchen table going over what he was supposed to be able to learn. This is obviously after hours, as you talk about it. And we all know there was a couple of seasons that Chris Chandler was our quarterback before they felt comfortable to give Steve the reins. But I think it was more. It could have been the success that Chris was having, an experienced quarterback that ultimately went on to the Super Bowl after he left us, so he's good enough, right, to keep Steve on the sideline. But it was just him learning the nuances of in the NFL coming from the SWAC. You know what I mean? But he was putting the man hours in to learn the offense. I just think that there has to be 2 connections. Your ability, your confidence in your ability to do something, and the team's confidence that you can actually do the same thing too. And they finally matched up.
So, Brad Hopkins, you are officially part of the Zone team. So we have our left tackle.
Where's our production? Where's our celebration?
Can we get some applause?
Wait, Yeah, we're all now looking at you. Yeah, crappy radio production. Yeah, welcome, B-Hop.
So
It's always funny when the former athletes come over to me and B-Hop been doing media a long time, but just how dumb and stupid and insecure the whole media environment is, and the athletes are looking at us like a bunch of clowns.
So we have our left tackle. We've had our left guard and Ramon Foster. And there's still 3 spots to fill. So who on the zone team could fill out the rest of the offensive line at center, right guard, and right tackle?
Well, first off, I think that Dawn Davenport can be a heck of a center.
I was going to say, Dawn's
she's kind of soily. You know what I mean? I think she'd get in your face, spitting, hollering, and,
you think?
Calling the direction of the offensive line. I could totally see that. and you know what? If Ramon's going to be playing left guard, then why wouldn't you put his brother out at right tackle? Ron Slay would be a heck of a edge protector with them long, gangly arms. Okay. Now, his back might not be worth anything. Yeah.
I'm going for the knees off the edge. I'm going right for the knees.
So, and then, let's see, my right guard.
Jackson he did play.
Oh, man, I forgot.
In high school. What did you play in high school?
Sir.
Guard.
There's our answers. We have our right guard.
And we have our right guard. And you know what, though? You are a prototypical guard, too.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like to see you pull. Get out in space.
Are you the linebacker? We can set this up.
I will swim your ass so fast.
Let's do it.
You got
set a date.
no.
You know what? You two idiots running your mouths. I'd love to see this happen.
Parking lot.
We still have to get a 40-yard dash in front of Rand Carthon at training camp off the ground. We haven't talked about that. There need to be waivers signed for when I pop my Achilles in real time. Either way, Brad, you got another segment in you?
Absolutely.
Well, you got nowhere to go. He's got a radio show coming up after this. We'll subject Brad Hopkins. That's how we'll welcome him to the zone team. We'll subject Brad Hopkins to the polls coming up next. Well, there's no better way to welcome Brad Hopkins to the Zone staff than to make him sit through a poll segment with us. Are you familiar with Rhett Bryan's character acting? Have you bared witness to this just yet?
No, I'm scared.
Okay, you should be. You should be. I don't know what Jackson has in store for you. Look at him smiling back there.
They call him Smiley.
Do they?
Yeah, 3HL calls him Smiley.
Why? I know him to be a sinister. I know him to be nefarious, not smiley.
Never not seen Jackson with a smile on his face.
Yeah, because he's preying on somebody's downfall. That's why he's smiling.
Geez.
I see you back there.
Hey.
This is a hostile environment, Brad. All right. Because immediately they force Lucas on me in studio all of a sudden. He's got a God complex. Jackson gets a little chesty every once in a while behind the board. And I'm just sitting here knives out at all times. Anytime somebody walks in here, ready to go.
If you knew our positioning in the studio, we'd see the buck is actually in the corner.
That's right.
To be able to defend
I got a wall on my back. This is all done intentionally.
Like a wounded animal.
You will not get me out of here. You will pry this microphone from my cold, dead hands.
Oh, my God, you two are funny.
So we'll get to the polls here in just a second. Have you experienced the cicadas yet? Because I'm scared to go home.
Oh, yes, over a number of years. If you live here on this planet long enough, you start to experience them screeching, howling.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So the insect overlords have started to crawl. So what part of town do you live in? I'm in Germantown, over in North Nashville. There's too much smog, I think, off the highway for there to be any kind of cicadas really yet.
I'm in Bellevue with all the seniors.
Okay.
We all hang out.
I love Bellevue.
We all hang out. We go to the pool off Highway 100 every once in a while. It's a good time.
Buck and I both used to live in Bellevue.
Yeah.
Not together.
No, we spend entirely too much time together. So you had a poll about the cicada overlords today. What has been your cicada experience?
I haven't seen a single one.
Not one?
Not one. I love the sound of cicadas, but I am afraid at the prospect of them taking over like they're supposed to this year.
You like the sound of
No.
Yes.
I'm following you, Lucas.
I'm from the South.
I'm just about to say that.
It's a
southern thing.
It's comforting, yes.
It's like you hear cicadas in the background, just like you hear the wind whistling through the leaves of a tree.
Yes.
It's just the same. It's a southern thing, man.
Yes.
It really is.
These
100%.
giant bugs are comforting to you people?
It's almost like listening to the birds, too. I mean,
Exactly.
It's something that you hear in the South.
Wait,
Seriously.
You are not going to compare a songbird
Lucas, I got you.
to one of these aliens.
B-Hop understands. Maybe it's a southern thing, but it's comforting, man. It's like the
Kinda,
sound
sorta.
of summer. It's
Yeah, kinda,
awesome.
sorta, yeah. And it does. You know what? That is a sound of summer. Much like you hear crickets, hearing cicadas, it gives you that, it's peaceful.
It's like when you start to see lightning bugs for the first time, and like just the little flickers of light in the air, like in the evening of the summer. Oh, it's just
Buddy,
like the
I
best
live in North
feeling.
Nashville. I saw a rabbit for the first time. That's a hood-ass rabbit. That thing's seen some
you're
stuff.
from Indiana, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they have like normal insects.
No, but I'm not really from Indiana. Like, I'm not really from Indiana.
Okay.
Well, I went to college in Indiana, went to high school in Indiana. My family's from Indiana. I lived in New York, D.C., Cairo, Egypt for a little bit. And then when my mom decided she wanted to move closer to family, we spent the last couple of years in Evansville. I've actually lived in Nashville longer than I lived in Indiana.
All I heard was concrete.
A lot of concrete.
Yeah.
A lot of concrete, a lot of rats.
Good night, bro.
So rats, sound of summer, them chewing through garbage bags and things like that. I got you.
Sounds of summer.
Chewing through telephone lines and things like that. Cicadas. You people are out of your mind. Give me some polls, please. This is the dumbest one. This show is giving me a tumor.
Is that Rhett?
Yeah, that's Rhett.
Stop.
Very talented.
Of all, that's the worst impression.
No,
Kirby hates his
spot
Arnold
on.
impression. We had Beavis and Butthead. We had Borat. We had all kinds of
love
stuff
the
back
Arnold
there.
one. Polls are presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Do you consider the Titans AFC South contenders? 76.7% say yes.
I do. Yeah. As a matter of fact, you guys had a great discussion that 1 or 4. That was that kind of got interesting.
It was an interesting question that was posed to me because I had to really sit there and think about it. Like by percentage chance, what's more likely to happen? Do they finish first or do they finish fourth? Texans went worst to first last year, but the quarterback is just so important. And honestly, Brad, the biggest unknown to me right now is the quarterback here. Of everything that's on their roster, Will Levis with 9 games is probably as big a question mark as anything that they have right now.
But don't you think they've done a lot to not finish last?
Sure, they've done a lot.
Made a lot of moves to just finish.
Finish last.
Yeah.
I can see if you said third, second, like, oh, okay, it could be a discussion.
Yeah.
But to say that they're last, I would say that they're more upside that they finished first than last.
I would agree with that assessment, but again, the quarterback is the question mark, but Gardner Minshew was good enough to finish third last year.
Which Titans newcomer are you most excited about? Anthony says Lloyd Cushenberry. I hope he fits the mold and becomes our new Ben Jones. Karen is going with Calvin Ridley. Too Many Kids 52 on Twitter says Denard Wilson, as long as he doesn't let his corners play 10 yards off. I think those days are probably over.
Too Many Kids 52.
Dave says J.C. Latham. Barry says Bill Callahan. The point is, there are all sorts of options. Do you have a personal favorite that you're most excited to see?
Tony Pollard. I kind of want to see what these two splitting the backfield look like and ushering in a new era of a way of running the football. Now, we also know, in listening to your interview with Tajay Spears' college coach, that was really good, guys. I kept wanting him to clear his throat, too, though. But
I just thought he was like gasping for air at a certain point.
Coach Fritz always sounds like that.
Yeah. But anyway, I kind of want to see what Tony Pollard looks like. And Tony Pollard probably has a small chip on his shoulder, given the fact that he sent Ezekiel Elliott packing and he himself was packing. So
yeah, and you can detach both of them from the formation. You can use them in the passing game. It's going to be an interesting use of the running backs this year. Mine's Lloyd Cushenberry. I think he's the most important non-coaching addition that they made.
How are you preparing for the takeover by our cicada overlords? Blake says bug spray and a lighter. Careful out there.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, right.
Pyrotechnics?
Chase says a pickleball paddle. Chris says I'm dusting off my tennis racket.
I have a cat. The cat likes to kill cicadas. She keeps bringing the cicadas into the house. That needs to stop.
Yeah, you know how I do it? Stay inside.
Not a nature guy?
I am, but not when I'm inundated with bugs.
Do you want the
Preds? I thought they were sounds of the South. I thought they were
sounds of the summer.
We're talking about the sound. We're talking about them crawling all over your porch and your car. And
that's a different thing. I don't want to see them covering my car. Do you want the Preds to extend UC Saros? 51.5% say no. 48.5% say yes.
That's
very
a lot
split.
Closer than I thought it'd be. I'm just slightly on the side of no. I don't think the money is worth it.
Yeah, but was goalkeeping a problem? That much of a problem?
No, but is it so much? Can you find replacement level goalie play in today's NHL where the scoring is crazy for not $7 to $8 million a year? Where the answer is probably yes.
Yeah, I heard you guys, and you particularly, Lucas, talking about how inept, I'll say that as a word, the scoring was for the Preds down this last series.
Yeah.
So
much more of a
that's not a tending of the goal situation. That's really putting more goals in the other basket.
Where does the Titans wide receiver core rank in the NFL? Anthony says top 10 easily. Eric says 8th. Levis the GOAT on Twitter says 4th at best, 6th at worst. Karen's going top 5.
You hop over here making like sensual sounds talking about some Titans wide receivers.
I'm thinking about that.
Make you feel something.
Think about that, though. All these household names. And the familiarity is what makes us have confidence that these guys can get it done, right? You hear Tyler Boyd, I know they do something pretty good, really good for the Bengals. Same thing with Calvin Ridley. We know he was a playmaker, even though he didn't, his injuries were part of something that happened to him early on, whatever. And, of course, we already know what DeAndre Hopkins has done for this team in a short period of time. So why not?
Top 10.
25 points a game, maybe? 27?
Would love that.
Oh, my God.
Those are the polls.
That's the show.
There's the poll.
B-Hop, you can hear him on Blaine and Mickey for the rest of the week. You can hear him on all 4 shows on a regular basis. We're very grateful that he chose to waste an hour of his day here with us to wrap up the show.
Awesome.
Thanks for doing it. What's on Blaine and Mickey?
We're going to catch up with Mr. DeJani.
Jordan DeJani of CBS.
Talking some NFL in the first hour. And in the 2 o'clock hour, we're going to catch up with the Music City Miracle Maestro himself, Kevin Dyson.
Oh, as if you didn't have enough reasons to listen to Blaine and Mickey featuring Brad Hopkins, you got them coming up next.